Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Spiritual Discoveries with Angie and Friends. I'm so happy to be here with you today. And I want to introduce you to my friends, evidential mediums Bill Coller and Claudia Zuccolo. And I forgot to ask you, Claudia, if that's how to pronounce your last name.
That's okay, Zuccolo.
I did. Oh, Zuccolo. Okay, good. So welcome, Bill and Claudia. I'm happy that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for
I'm
having us.
happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what? I want to give people a chance to come on. And anybody as you're coming on too, make sure you say hi and let us know where you're from. We love to hear that. But first of all, I have a house in Lilydale, and both of you have a house in Lilydale as well. So let's talk about what made you buy a house in Lilydale.
Are you asking me or Claudia?
Claudia. And I'll ask Claudia first, then you. Okay.
Right, ladies first.
Well, Bill, really, it's his decision. He saw and he knew the house already. And I was so happy when he told me that he gets that offer to, make the decision really to go there. Because for me, Lilydale is such a wonderful, great place to be there. So I was more than happy when
It's
he
beautiful.
decided. More than happy.
Yeah. And your house, I think, too, is right on the water, right?
Yeah, beautiful
Yeah.
view. And I think it's one of the oldest, someone told us there even. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. I think so too.
yeah.
So you what do you love most about Lilydale?
For me, it's just the history that's there, the energy that's there, because you just feel that history of mediumship there so strongly. And there is also not only in Lilydale itself, but it's also about physical mediumship history there. And so that's so great because here, in Switzerland, it's nice to work, it's all good, but there is not that history of mediumship like there. So I really enjoy it to be there in that environment and to be able to work there or to do some demonstrations or something. So that's great.
That's awesome. I know I've
I
seen. Yes. How about you, Bill?
I watched that house for a number of years because the people who owned the house are members of our centre here in New Jersey, and and so I knew the house. I'd stayed in the house. I knew the history of the house, and I bought the house primarily, if I'm being honest, I bought it for Claudia uh, because she needed, in my opinion, to get the experience of the diversity that Lilydale can bring
It does.
in the development of mediumship. And
Yeah.
and so for me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And plus, I like the house, and plus it has a pool table in it, so I like the pool table as well.
Yeah.
And you know the whole environment. I'm big on history.
Yeah.
I like history, particularly the history of mediumship and the history of spiritualism. And of course, from that area, generally, modern spiritualism was born.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
I'm very much in tune with all of that.
Yeah.
And being a medium for more than 50 years, it's always interesting to work in another country, another environment, which I
Mhm.
like.
Yes, definitely. I was going to say, so you're saying New Jersey, but when I hear you speak, it doesn't sound like New Jersey.
No, no,
It's. Where are you from?
I'm from Scotland originally.
Scotland.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
and I come from a family of mediums. My
You do.
grandmother
That
and
was
great
my
uncles and
question.
great aunts were all mediums.
Okay, okay. I was going to ask you that, and that was funny. I guess you're intuitive because I saw your background is in engineering and management, and doesn't sound like mediumship. And sort of that was my question is how did you get into mediumship, and is that how because it was in your family?
Well, I started when I was young getting phenomena. and I approached my parents about it. And my parents said to me, "Oh, don't talk to us, talk to your grandmother. She's a medium." And I said, "What's a medium?" And they said, "Oh, go and talk to her. She's the one to talk to." And I went and I spoke to her about it, and she introduced me, because she was well known in Scotland. She was a medium for 60 years. And
Wow.
she said to me, "I'll take you to all the churches you don't want to go to, and then I'll take you to all the churches you do want to go to. And then you can
Wow.
learn to understand what's involved in mediumship, but also what's involved in what's best for your own development." And that's what she did. And it was cool.
Wow. That's very, very cool. And what a great education, really, to kind of go to the not so good ones and the good ones. I bet you learned a lot.
Oh, tremendous amount. And I used to go up to my grandmother's on a Wednesday afternoon. I was a young guy. I was in my late teens. And I would sit there, and on one armchair was my grandmother, and on the other armchair was a trance medium called Jimmy Cornfoot. And both of them would take turns in going into trance, and I would be sitting on the sofa, and I would get hours of spiritual communication, because she was a trance medium as well. And I would get hours of spiritual communication with both of them, getting an understanding of something we don't teach today, the mechanics of how the spirit world works.
Yes,
We
that's
teach
true.
people about communication, but we don't teach people about the mechanics of the spirit world. And one of the things I learned, being an engineer by profession, I learned that logical engineering type thinking is not a disadvantage in mediumship, because the spirit world works very logically. And if you take the same logic that you would apply in engineering, and you take that logic to the spirit world, they will respond to you because they adapt to you. And so they'll use
Mhm.
my speak, they'll use my thought processes. So being an engineer, and later on being a management consultant, I was able to work with the spiritual world, with working with my clients. And I
Wow,
find mediumship works throughout the world. And I
that's
always say a
amazing.
mom's a mom and a dad's a dad all around the world.
Yes. Yes, yeah, that's true. And I remember Jesse First, one of the mediums in Lilydale, saying to me, make sure you learn and keep learning, because the more things you learn, the more ways spirit has to come through. And so that's what you mean by the management and the engineering, correct? The lot and the logic,
Yeah.
correct?
I also,
Yeah.
in addition, I did university courses on things like death and dying, on world religions, those
Yeah.
kinds of things,
Yeah.
humanistic elements of psychology. And
Yeah.
not because I wanted a job as a psychologist, but by having a knowledge and an understanding of the mechanics of those things. When I was with
Mhm.
different clients in different cultures, I could have an easier sense of what the spirit world was trying to tell me.
Because of your learning. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Claudia, I want to ask you too. Of course I was looking at your both of your bios on your website, and yours said that you're a dancer. You went
Yeah.
to school for dancing, yes. And so what kind of dancing? I love dancing.
Well, I was a professional dancer with ballet, jazz dance, and this.
Wow.
So I was on stage. I was on big stage. I was on small stage. I was everywhere. Yeah,
Oh
and it was.
wow.
Yeah, I had also a very big dance school then when I wasn't at the stage anymore, and so I
Mhm.
loved teach there very much, and I did also a master degree in teaching. So that's what now I also can get use of that knowledge of the teaching. If you teach dance or if you teach the mediumship, it's still teaching, and so that's good. I can take
Yeah,
lots out
that's
of.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
teaching is teaching.
also
True.
with the dancing, I was touching people in the heart. That was always important to me, to just bring something good, to bring some healing through. And I did it with the dance. And now I'm very happy that I can bring through the loved ones and also heal, but in another way. So it's still healing. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I completely agree. Dancing is very healing because you can go and watch that too. And if somebody's dancing from their heart, which I imagine you were, it makes you feel wonderful and healed.
Exactly. You can give a
Yeah.
moment of healing. And what I also learned there very much is going in different characters with the dancing, going in different feelings. And that's why as a spiritual working with me, I'm very strongly can or very good go into the characters, in the personalities of them, because I was used already as a dancer. So it's always what you learn in life. Spiritual can use so that's a bit different, or the difference a little bit from Bill to me. He's more the technical one, and I'm more the emotional one.
Yeah. You know what though? You balance each other out perfectly because of that.
Yeah.
So how did you get into, so how did you go from dancing to now you're doing mediumship, and you teach mediumship, right? And you do readings and platform, and I know you both do it together as well.
Yeah. I do the full package. Well, I was sensitive since a little girl already. I always did pray very much. In my prayers, I was always in a conversation. But I didn't grow up now in a very, in Switzerland, mediumship is not that popular, or when I was a child. But then later on, in a big emotional pain, I opened up very much, and it came in very strongly. And to get some peace, I went to convent. And in the convent, there was a healer. And because, in the convent, the nuns didn't understand very well what I was talking about. But that healer did. And she said, well, you need to go to Bill Coller to learn really your mediumship. And I said, who is Bill Coller? So I went to his class. That's how we met. And in the first moment, I felt so great. Finally, on someone that understood my gifts, but down to earth, and not esoteric huli-bully. And I did his teaching, and it turned out that's the gift going very well. And with the teaching now, I can really work all over the world. And I'm traveling with that, and I'm very happy now.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that story. Isn't that funny how you wind up somehow always where you're supposed to be, right? And somehow you wound up learning from Bill, and Bill wound up with you in class, and then here we are now, right?
There you go.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love your story, both of you. So Bill, I've taken lots of classes from you through Fellowships of the Spirit, and probably like I was the one in the back. I was quiet, but absorbing everything. And so many of the things that you said really kind of, I feel like, put me on track with my own mediumship. And I remember one thing you said was to have a conversation with the spirit person. Like, don't guess and say, I have a mom figure here. I remember you said, ask them who the heck they are, and go for it and do that. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I feel if we are genuinely in contact with the spirit world and not delusional, we should be able to go into a dialogue situation. Now, once we get into that dialogue situation, excuse me, we should be in a situation of understanding how our sensitivity works. Now, one of the big problems that people have in their sensitivity development is they're trying to learn how the spiritual world functions. That's wrong. We should be telling the spirit world how we function and get them to adapt to us. Now, if there's intelligence in the spirit world, and we know there's intelligence, then they have the intelligence to adapt to us. So instead of taking mediumship in one direction, we take it in a totally different direction and transferring the ownership of communication to the spirit world in a way that they would know, that we would understand. So in that way, we can develop our mediumship much faster by giving ownership of change to the spirit world. And of course, the spirit world being intelligent, they can adapt to us and they can give us information in a form that we can understand. So we're not having to guess what we think they want to say. We can recognize what they're saying because it makes sense to us.
Oh, I love that. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right. And so you're saying we do that by communicating with them and talking to them and asking them questions,
Yeah.
right? Because Elaine, I remember Elaine always said in class, ask, and that's essentially what you're doing then. That's
Yeah.
what you're saying? Yeah.
It comes down to what I call all the W's plus an H. Who, why, where, when, how, what, which. Now, if the spirit world understand, which they do, that they're the type of questions you're going to ask, then they know clearly that the first question you'll ask is, who are you? Now, that's a logical thing. If your telephone rings, you pick up the telephone and say, who are you?
Yes.
Then everything you get after that is to support the statement of who it is. So if you said to the client, I've got your mother here, you would understand your mom's passed away, and they say yes. Then everything you ask the spirit world after that is to support the statement that you've made that it's the mother. So who starts the process? And then why, where, when, how, what, which. And then that brings in what I call the stories. Because mediums generally are storytellers.
Yeah.
We tell stories about people's lives, people's deaths, the processes, the experiences, the memories they go through. We're storytellers.
Yeah.
So if we can get into the modus with the spirit world of telling stories, then the evidence comes out of the stories. So if you said, I've got your grandmother here on mother's side, yes, she had a glass eye, she had a wooden leg, she smoked a pipe, and she shaved twice on a Sunday, the client would look at that, well, that's my grandmother.
Yeah.
That's what she did. So the evidence supports the statement, but the evidence has got to come after the statement's been made. And unfortunately, you hear too many mediums saying, and who is that to you? That's not mediumship. That's guesswork.
Yes.
The medium should be saying, I have. Now let me prove it to you.
Yes, and I think you're right too. You ask them, and that's who are you? Ask a few of those who, why questions, and then it's almost like you've established, right, your connection. We both know how we communicate, and then we can get to the story. Or I always feel this too. Then we get to the essence. Because I always try to bring through the essence of who they are, right? That's when the client cries. Not that you want to make people cry, but that's when it's more. That's when they feel that their loved one really is present. Correct?
Now the question you've got to ask about that is that the way you were when you were in this world, or is that the way you are now since going to the spirit world? That could be two different things.
Because they change. You're saying they're not the same. Yes. Yeah. Claudia, go ahead. I see you nodding your head. Yes. Add in. Yes.
No, sure. And it's always, we are giving information out here when we're talking, but in that time when we're talking, we're asking 100 questions in the background for the next information. And they can change. It's not that they have to change. And how they change, it's very differently, their stories. But also that's a very nice evidence then, if you can say, hey, that's the experience how they were, and now they feel very different. And also that's how now they are with you, and give some evidence what they see now, what you're doing now. So that's a nice mixture.
I love that. I love that. So really then you should be asking them what, not just tell me about yourself, but tell me about yourself when you were here, you know, in the
That's the
physical
point.
life with the person I'm sitting with. I never thought, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Because there's history and there's currentness. And we've got to look at the history because that forms part of the evidence. But if the relationship was not very good when the person was in this world, you've got to be asking them how much they've learned since they've passed away. So that with a client, there could be a healing process there.
Yeah.
So it's not just a case of giving the history that was not very good, but it's also a question of updating that history in the modus that it is now. And the other advantage that Claudia has over me, because Claudia is cleverer than she looks.
She's clever. Yes. I heard her give a message. It's good.
Yeah, Claudia speaks a number of languages.
Yeah.
So in speaking Italian or French or German or Swiss German or English, which are all languages that she speaks, she can get communicators who are Italian, and she could give the evidence in Italian.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
And I only speak two languages very well. I speak English and rubbish. But she speaks multi-languages. So she has a big advantage in the sense that the communicators can project their own language skills, and she can understand those language skills. And that's a big advantage.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Claudia. You know, you could probably bring through. I have a great grandmother that only spoke Italian. I never understood her. Yeah. Yes.
Every medium can communicate with every language. It's not that. But if it's a language I do understand, then I can say, oh, that great grandmother had that Italian background. I can hear her speaking Italian. So that's a nice evidence. And of course, if there is a special word or something they want to say in their own language, I can bring it through in that language.
Yeah. Because that's another one of those roadways, that those things about whatever you learn and whatever you know, spirit can come through that way, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The way that I used to overcome it was, I'm a big soccer fan and golf fan. I played soccer. I love golf. And the way that I did it was, I asked the spirit world to give me the name of a soccer player, give me the name of a golf player. And so I would say to my client, oh, I've got a connection here with somebody called Giovanni. And they would say, yes, my father's Giovanni. Now, I would know it because of a soccer player who was called Giovanni. So that, again, the spirit world is making use of knowledge they know I have, because it's appropriate for the communication process. So it's all about appropriateness.
I love that. So you're kind of taking your own knowledge and saying, give me the name of a golf player. So you're not just letting spirit come through, like, say, your roadways of knowledge. You're using them to communicate with spirit to get correct information for the client. Wow.
Yes. And it's called dialogue.
Yes.
Yeah. You set up your systems with your spirit guides, with your team. So you tell them beforehand, look, that's my systems, that's how I work, that's how I understand. And then they prepare the communicators to bring it in the way that you can understand. And that's so cool.
Now, that is so cool. I agree. And that's how you get the accuracy. Go ahead, Bill. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and the advantage that Claudia and I have is we can work on the same communicators easily.
Yeah.
And so Claudia can give a start, I can give more information, she can give more information, and we can ping pong back and forward on the same communicators. Because why? There's dialogue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
So we both
dialogue.
get into dialogue with the same communicator.
And
Yeah.
that's important because Bill gets information from a communicator, in his mail way. And I get information from my female side of way. So that's always really cool when you can come talk to the same person in the spiritual world. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So is that what you do? Do you do readings together, or is that how you do platform?
Platform. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
The
so
readings we do separately.
Yeah. Readings.
okay. But platform, like one of you will bring in a communicate. I love how you say that too. I remember, Bill, you always said the communicator, and I love that, because that is what they are. But so one of you brings through a communicator, and then you go back and forth
Yes.
with that someone. That's
Yep.
beautiful. I love that. I love that. One of the things too, Bill, that you always said that I thought was, and this is like a motto. I teach classes here at my center and also at fellowships. And one of the things I say over and over is never leave someone with a sore heart. And that's from you.
That was my grandmother's saying.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to always say, you're only as good as your last contact.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot guarantee your next one, and never leave a client with a sore heart. If you're going to say something to them, say it in a positive way that leaves a positive outcome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can still approach difficult subjects, but you can do it in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
So I would never say to somebody, as an example, to use an Americanism, don't buy any green bananas. I would never use that terminology because you're taking away hope from people. And nobody in the spirit world can tell you when you're going to die. It would only be their best guess.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
history shows us they can be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because go ahead.
no, carry on.
No, go ahead. I want to hear because people have free will. I was going to put in, but yes.
Yeah, that's what's called the American whale. Free Willy. You have
Okay, I
free,
love that.
you do have free will. And the thing that would determine or help to determine longevity is lifestyle, levels of support, levels of medication, will to live, environmental support. They're all things that do influence longevity of life.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody doesn't have those things, then they can die a little bit faster.
Yes.
If somebody has those things, then they can stay in this world a little bit longer. And there has to be the will to live.
Yes.
And I know that miracles happen. I've seen miracles happening. So don't tell me miracles can't happen. They can happen. But generally speaking, and Elaine is a good example of that. And it's people who want to stay mostly for a reason.
Yes.
They have a drive. They have a reason. And that keeps them going. So I got a lot of these sayings from my grandmother. My grandmother was a tough cookie as a medium, a really cookie. She would kick your ass on a heartbeat.
That's good.
She used to come to my services and she would sit in the front row with her arms folded. And everybody knew my grandmother. They all knew her around my hometown. And they would all say, that's Helen Cook, the medium. That's Helen Cook, the medium. And she would sit in the front row with her arms folded, watching my service. Then afterwards, she would say to me, I want to talk to you. And then she would take the mediumship apart, and then she would rebuild it again.
Wow.
Not destructively. She would rebuild it, and she would say, you should have looked at that. You should have spent more time with that. Did you consider that? And it becomes an educational process. And I've got a lot to be grateful to her for that. Plus, her mediumship was superb.
Yeah.
But once I said to her, I was getting reasonably well known by this time. And I said to her, I want to do a double demonstration with you. And she said, nope. And I said, why? It would be the biggest joy in my life to do a
Yes.
demonstration with you. And she said, nope. She said, you're from a different generation of mediums in your development. She said, and you need to be known as Bill Coller, not Helen Cook's grandson.
Wow. She's
So
right. She's right about that. How lucky
What-
that you got to learn that way, you know, that you know, really you grew up with this, and to have your grandmother, probably, like, I would have been a little nervous having my grandmother sitting there with her arms folded,
I
right?
was terrified.
Yes, yes, yeah. But I probably had Elaine, because Elaine would not, she would never sit like this, but she would, if I asked her, she would go through it and tell me what I could do better, which to me is the best teacher, you know. But for you, how lucky that you got to have that from the time you were young. So many, I think we're born with our intuitive gifts, and we forget them because we go to school and focus on logic, and then all of a sudden we get to be in our 30s, and it's like we go back to relearn. I always think we don't relearn it. We are prompted to remember what's already there. Would you agree, both of you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The thing that probably helped was her sister was a medium. And her
Wow.
sister had a spiritualist church in Windsor, Ontario, in Canada.
Wow.
Her brothers were all mediums. And one of them could play piano in trance, couldn't play piano otherwise, but in trance he would play piano. So that whole family constellation were all mediumistic.
Wow.
And so they had a lot of things that they could talk about. Now, in those days, they sat in circle 5 nights a week,
Wow.
5 nights. The Saturday night, they went out with their husbands or partners, and the Sunday, they went to church.
Okay.
That
And then
was their
we have to do it on
entertainment.
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was their
Wow.
entertainment system. So they developed their skills. And I think one of the problems we have today is people are not developing their skills. They're not serving their apprenticeship. They want instant coffee, instant gratification. And good mediumship comes out of a good whiskey. It needs to mature.
Yes, it takes time. You have to keep practicing, and you get experience. And I see you shaking your head, Claudia, too. You know, Claudia, I wanted to ask you this, because we were talking before about, you said you do mediumship all around the world.
Yeah.
So how is that? Is it, I do readings actually for people in Taiwan, because I have a friend that's here, lives near me from Taiwan. And it's, I don't speak the language, so I do it with an interpreter. And I find it's the same, but it's different too, though, because culture is different. So I wanted to ask you about that, like in different countries, how is it?
That's what I really love about it, because you get in such other environment, get in such other cultures of history, because in the communication you go into the history of the people, and yeah, so that's really different. And also, especially when I go into these characters of that history, so you go in that different kind of character from another culture background, and that's so, I just love it, and it's so interesting. And in working in that many countries and having that international client base, also it widens up my mediumship skills, of course, because then you get into things where you think that can't be, but you get the trust, you just say it, and then yes, exactly, that it is. And then with the online working, I have people from Chile, Mexico, Brazil, all over the world. So that's not only the places where I work, that's really also with the online now today, of course, after COVID. So that's an advantage. But no, I really love to work in different countries. And what I learned from Bill, a mom is a mom and a dad is a dad all over the world. So that's so nice. And sometimes I get with Bill somewhere, like we went to Sarasota in Florida. I have never been there.
Oh, it's beautiful there. Yeah.
Before in California, but I mean, Florida and California, that's very different. And we arrive, and the next day I'm there on the platform, and it's going like, whoa, 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 okay. But okay, back to the base, just stick with your principles, stay with your techniques, and then it works out so great if you just work continuously and also always in consistency. If you have the same principle, the same techniques, then it works fantastic all over the world. So thanks to Bill's technique, yes. And
Yeah.
I learned, Bill says always what his grandmother says, but I say Bill always tells me, okay, what did you learn? What did you learn in that experience? What did you learn on that platform? And that's what I learned, to always reflect in my work. Okay, what did I learn today?
Yeah.
That's also what we ask our students as well. We teach, and then the next day we say, okay, what did you learn yesterday?
Wow.
That's
That's powerful. That is so powerful. And so you do that. So you're doing platform, and then later on you're talking about what you learned. And then would you say, even with all your experience, you're still learning?
Oh, very much. Totally. I'm totally in the start. I want to get 100 times better. Oh, that's clear. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I feel that way too. And I say to people, even though I teach, I still take classes, and I still, because I'll take a class and think, I'm listening to both of you today, and I'm this is like a class for me. And because I'm thinking, I didn't think of doing that, but that's awesome. I love that. And you do that because you teach too, and you do that with your students too.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you love teaching?
Oh, I love teaching so much because it needs so many people who gets to get these techniques and get into these conversations, and just, so many people are sensitive, but they're like a feather in the wind. They have no idea where they are. They don't understand. They pick something out of the aura. Is it the dialogue with the spirit world? Is it out of the kasha? What is it? And when you really learn where you are in your mediumship and you understand your mediumship, then you have like riding a horse. You have the I don't know now the word in English, where you have the control.
Control. Yes. Yeah.
You're in control so much of it that you can also say, okay, let's look more at this or more at that. And then also the quality gets a stability there, because you know what you're doing. And then you have that quality, a consistent quality. And it's so much fun, and spirit likes fun, and it's just great. I just love it.
I know what you mean. Like I feel that same way. You have to have fun. I always tell students this, like, you can't be, I've got to get the message right. Like, you have to be in the flow and trust and have fun.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, I always feel that. So Bill, do you feel like you're still learning as well?
Always. I've always said, and Claudia knows this, every year at the beginning of the year, I always say, I want to be better than I was last year.
Yeah.
And that's the simple principle, that you're always open to that learning process, becoming more sophisticated. And it doesn't matter the size of the audience. I've done demonstrations to 2,000 people in theatres. And it doesn't matter if you're sitting in a group with 10 people, that the principle is the same. The technique you might use to establish where you're going is different because of the size of the audience. But I always have this idea, and I bring it out in the classes, that everybody in a public auditorium is a private reading client sitting in a public place.
Yeah.
And the only difference is you're maybe not as explicit in the public place because of embarrassment factor. things that you might not want to go to because you're in a public place, but the principle is the same. And when I hear mediums saying, oh, I don't know where I'm going and all this kind of stuff, drives me nuts. You know, I said, what the hell are you doing? You know, you're obviously not in control of your mediumship. When I hear mediums saying things like, before I can demonstrate, I need 26 verses of the Lord's my shepherd to get me into the groove. It's BS.
I know.
It's BS. What they're saying is the tail is wagging the dog.
Yeah.
The dog
Yeah.
is not wagging the tail. They're not in
Yeah.
control of their mediumship. So they have a development issue.
Yeah.
And they've
Yeah.
allowed the esotericism of mediumship to control what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's not good for mediumship.
Yeah.
Mediumship is a tool to
Yeah.
be defined. And
Yeah.
we've got to teach that you don't get caught up in the esotericism. You don't use crutches that you lean on, that you don't need the 26 verses of the Lord's my shepherd before you can start. And this is one of the things that I learned when I first went to Switzerland 35, 37 years ago. From a spiritualist church, you had all these people singing hymns and all that kind of stuff before you could start. And I went to Switzerland, and the person who was presenting said, ladies and gentlemen, I've got Bill Coller from Scotland. Now, Bill, it's over to you. And then I had to demonstrate for 2.5 hours. No music, no meditation, no prayers, nothing. Just stand up and get on your bike.
Wow. How was that?
In the beginning, it was, can I do this? And then afterwards, I used to go to the spiritualist churches and think that an hour dem was a breeze. You know, it's only an hour.
Yeah.
Oh God, is that all I have to work? That's wonderful. You know,
After that,
after that.
yeah.
So you were used to managing your time. You were used to learning how to manage your energy in communication. You learned how to work an audience. You learned how to control your vocabulary. You learn how to control your voice in the room and project your voice and all of those kind of things. They're all the things that we don't spend enough time teaching.
And it's important. You know what I remember you saying too, because I did not like platform. It took me, and I had to do it, right? Because I'm in Lilydale, and I'm going to ask you both a question about that in a second. But one of the things that you said is never have your back to the audience. You know, like don't walk down the aisle. And you demonstrated that. I remember you walked down the aisle and gave a message and said, now, how was that for everybody in the front? So when I teach that, I do that too, because it really spoke to me. Yeah, yeah.
Then it's been successful. That's the point. We've got to teach things that, one, are practical, and two, the person listening to it has got to resonate with it and has got to say, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that makes sense. And then they won't forget it.
Yeah.
Because it resonates with them.
Yeah, that's
You
so
wanted
true.
to ask Claudia a question.
Yeah. So Claudia, how do you feel about platform mediumship? And also I wanted to ask you too that, and before, and I don't want to forget this, because on your website, you talk a lot about connecting from the heart. And I always feel that's so important. So yes, talk about those things. I gave you 2 things. Yeah.
So yeah, I love to be on the platform, but I'm always nervous. And I just do it also because there my mediumship can grow more, because you can't hide in a sitting. Okay, you're one-to-one, and then okay, you can go around the things if it gets difficult. But on a platform, no, you need to go suck, very fast. And that's also, you can't hide, you need to come on your point. And that's why I like it very much. So wherever there is a platform I go to, just because I want to learn, I want to get better. And that's why also in Lilydale, I love the stomp and all of these things. Yeah, because I want to learn, I go there. And yeah, and there also on the platforms, you know, many people are coming to a demonstration. They're maybe just curious, they're a bit afraid of going in a reading. And so, yeah, if you can demonstrate it in a very good quality, not just greetings very fast, no, you give already there a nice quality of continuity of life after death. Then maybe they see, that's interesting. Maybe also I would like to go in a reading. And also you just can get that connection through from the loved ones. Because what it is that the love connects and the love never stops. And it's this love, that's what's I'm saying, the heart to heart. That's what's so important to me, to especially when someone is in big bereavement or has a big loss. To I cannot take them the bereavement away, but maybe I can change it a little bit. And if I can get to that on a platform, then oh yeah, I just do it. I love it.
Yeah. And then and like you said, sometimes people are afraid, they don't know what a reading is, or they're scared of it. And then you open up their heart a little bit because you're coming from your heart. They hear your message and then they come to get the rest of the reading because they're not as scared, right?
Yes, exactly. They say, it's not that scary. It's not.
No.
Yeah, not person there on stage. That's not. Yeah. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. You said you said that too about bereavement, is that you want to help them a little bit and help them live a more quality life. And I feel like as mediums we can do that.
Yeah. Of course. And you never can prove it. They prove it to themselves. So you give the evidence and then they can look at that evidence and think, there may be something more than just here. Yeah. That's my goal. That's always my achievement. That I can bring the loved ones in that way through, that you really feel, wow, my mom, she's really here now. And that's so much my goal, to get there. Yeah.
Doesn't that make you feel, when I get that too, I'm so happy. Like, I'm like, yes, because you want to give that to them, you know, because it makes them feel so much better. I remember I used to always say about platform, I used to say, what can you do in the 2 or 3 minutes? I'm not going to do that. I like one-on-one. And then I finally made myself do platform because I wanted, I always challenge myself too. And it was funny because I gave 3 messages and all 3 of those people came up to me and said that short message I gave them changed their life. And then I thought, well, that was spirit making sure I heard that, because I needed to do that. Right.
And for me, the nice compliment is always a client says, oh, exactly that was saying my son when he was alive. Exactly that sentence. Wow. Isn't that great if you can get the people through in that way?
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. So I want to ask both of you, for people that are watching, we have a lot of people on. I'm not even looking, but lots of people are saying hi to us. But so how do people, like, as both of you as being teachers, can you each give a couple of hints? How can our viewers connect to their loved ones? Because we can all do it, right?
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been with someone when they actually died? I mean, physically, they're looking at them.
I have, yeah.
Did you notice that their last breath was in, not out? So Steven Spielberg got it wrong in the movies when you see somebody dying with an outward breath. The last breath is always in.
Ooh. No, I didn't notice that, but as you're saying that, and I'm taking myself back to that. Yes. Yeah. Wow.
Now, as the breath goes in, the soul goes out in one continuous movement. Now, if you want to go into the spirit world without dying, because that's the two ways you can communicate with the spirit world. One is to die, the other is to use mediumship. Then all you need to do is take an inward breath, one breath in. That raises your consciousness towards where the spirit world is.
Wow.
And then you open out your thoughts towards your loved one, and they'll get that email.
Wow.
It's as simple as that.
And that's it. So breathe in and then just notice your awareness. Go
Yes.
ahead, Claudia. Yeah, I know you want to add.
Breathe in, just hold on that upper feeling that you have from that inward breath. Open your heart, and there is a connection. And that's all it is. Because spirit world works very simple. They're very organized, and they know what they're doing. So if a system gets very complicated and you need to do 20 seminars about it, then it's about business. It's not about spiritual world. Spiritual world, they're very effective. They're very fast.
Yeah. And they want to give us the messages. You know, they're not fighting it. They really want to. So if we cooperate or dialogue with them, we're going to get the information, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And so in that sense of things, don't, as Claudia was correctly saying, don't make something that's simple complicated. The esoterics make it complicated.
Yeah. And then you inward breath. And then important thing is to stay active. Don't go into a meditative state. Stay active, like Bill said before. Who are you? What are you? Huh? And trust your feelings you're getting, because the answers are coming immediately. If you wait and think about it, then you get in your brain, and then you get in your thinking. And we do never ever say, I think. Because as soon as you say, I think, then you get in your brain, you're not sensitive anymore. So with the inward breath, we open up the heart, we immediately get in an active phase of 100 questions, and you get immediately these answers. You get the feeling about the answers, and then you immediately can say, oh, I feel, I can sense, I'm aware of. That's how it works. Yeah.
I agree. And I think, thank you. And I think people sometimes too, they don't realize the feelings they're getting, right? Are that's from spirit as well. You know,
we don't trust it.
We don't trust it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have to, like, the minute, you're right, the minute you start thinking about it or questioning it, you switched into your logical brain, and then you're out of intuition, right?
And that's what the classes are so great on, because then you learn to work with other people. You learn to connect with people that are not your family. And that's where you get the trust in these communications then, where you get so many information which you can't know. That gives you then the trust. That's then the exercise and exercise and exercise.
Yes. Don't you teach circles? Do you both, like, do you have classes online that anybody could take, or you do on Zoom, or you do?
Claudia does. She's a smart ass. She has all that stuff.
Okay, you teach. Go ahead.
I have a whole online circle on mediumship, where it's not a seminar. We really do exercise what we did learn. That's online. But Bill, I think your courses in New Jersey as well have some online things.
Yes, they do. Yeah. And my center is in a spiritual center in Wayne, New Jersey. And we have all that stuff here as well.
Okay, so actually, Bill, I know a couple people that traveled to New Jersey and took your classes and said they were great. And Claudia, I wanted to ask you, so if I wanted to come to your circle, is it in English?
Oh yeah, I do it in 2
languages. So I would understand. Okay.
Of course.
Everybody, I don't have my tech person here today, but in the comments, I'm going to post both their websites so you can take a look at their classes for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll definitely post all that.
That's
So
it.
so I'm going to ask you both. It goes by so fast. I always think we have all this time. But so Claudia, what's your favorite thing about doing this work? What do you love the most?
Well, the most is just to get that connection from the spirit through, to get that healing to the people who are, yeah, today many people are in struggle. Is it because of bereavement or otherwise? And just to bring these loved ones through in one way or the other way, to give that healing of that love, that we are not alone and we are never alone, never ever. We're always supported. They're always here, and that's my biggest thing. Is it in mental mediumship or also with the physical mediumship? That doesn't matter which way. It's just the healing from the loved ones, that we're not alone. That's, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you. I love that. So how about you, Bill? What do you love most?
Life-changing moments,
Mhm.
and the philosophy of, if you think you can and if you think you cannot, you're correct.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
So you've got to always focus on what you can.
Yeah, yeah. Don't tell yourself you can't. You're correct. Isn't that Henry Ford? I think that
Yeah,
said that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I love that. So I loved interviewing, getting to talk to. I didn't feel like an interview. I got to talk to both of you. It was awesome. I bet everybody online would say they learned, because I know I learned. I hope we can do this again. Thank you very, very, very much, both of you.
Thank
And
you. Pleasure.
yeah. And thank you to everybody that tuned in. Here's somebody just saying this is a wonderful interview. Yeah, you'll have to look at all the comments. I will too. So, and I'm definitely going to post both of their websites in comments so you can take a look at what courses they have to offer. And they're all saying thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.